Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Easy Does It, a podcast created specifically for the amazing members of the MJ team. I'm Meredith, and I'm back with my co-host Rob, and we have a special episode because it's another guest host episode. I can't wait. Rob, tell us who's here with us today.
We have Edward Shouse,
Woo, woo.
who I like to call Shouse and Berry. He's in the house.
Yeah.
I also have wondered, maybe I knew this, but I forgot. Is there a DJ name?
There are two. Okay. One is my actual name, Edward Shouse, and the other one is Trailer Park Daddy, which is my producer alias that really has nothing to do with me, but it's just very eye-catching. So back in the days of the internet when blogs and forums were all the rage, if I wanted to put any like remixes out, I had to have something that would catch people's eye. And so that was pretty much how it came out from that, just a random name that I heard one time. So
you heard Trailer Park Daddy before?
Yeah, I was at a friend's house and I was just picking on one of his outfits, and I put on one of those like undershirts, and he had this like red trucker hat, and I had this fake gold chain that he had. And I came out and somebody says, "Oh my goodness, you look like a Trailer Park Daddy." And I was like, "I do." And that kind of stuck in my head a little bit.
Bingo.
And I was like, that's the one. That's the name, for sure.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Do most DJs, I don't want to take us down the DJ path, and maybe you were going to talk about this, so I hope I'm not stealing your thunder. Do most DJs have like a name? Like I think I immediately go to like DJ Jazzy Jeff. That's showing my age. But do most DJs have a name?
Yeah, I mean, I think branding is a really big part of what that is. Some have it forever, and some change their name every other week trying to gain traction. So it's kind of like, it's a partial identity, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's important to have that because you're the DJ is like the business itself, as is that name. It's not necessarily the person. So
yeah.
But yeah.
Interesting.
Now you have to guide me a little bit here because I feel like this has come up in normal conversation. I remember being in one of the meetings and someone said something one time and I just saw you take a note. And then I've heard also sometimes Samantha might say some things and you're like, that's amazing, and you'll take another note because it's odd statements. And is it you come up with other DJ names, or you're writing these things down that are like odd sayings? You're like, oh, that's a perfect song name or band name. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's band names. That's what it is. So yeah, I have a list on my phone of random things I'll hear people say. It mainly started with Samantha, my wife. She has interesting ways of phrasing things, and so it always kind of fascinated me. So if she would say something, I'd write it down, and then we played the game where we occasionally revisit and think of all the things that she said in the past. So it's kind of nice to keep that. It's been going for years now, but it's the number one note in my phone.
Do you have a couple that have just been at the absolute top of the list of just amazing band names?
Oh yeah, Dark Chocolate Nasty Cake is probably my favorite. She did not like that dessert. It was an actual dessert. She's like, that's just some
That was what it was called?
No, that's what she called it. It was an actual, there was something fancy to it, but she's just like, I don't like that dark chocolate nasty cake. And I was like, writing that down.
Got it.
Oh yeah.
Check.
Definitely number one for sure.
Wow. What restaurant was that? So we make sure we don't go there and try that.
Oh, I think we were out of town somewhere. I can't remember
really?
the name. Yeah, it was we were on vacation. Yeah.
Man. I need to see the rest of this list at some point.
I know, seriously. Well, this may have come up in your story about Edward Shouse or not. Like I said, I hope we didn't steal any parts of your story. But could you give the people a 2 to 4 minute story? Who is Edward Shouse?
Yeah, so born and raised in the Charlotte metro area. So kind of rare nowadays. Not many of us. It's crazy to see how everything's changed around here. But I mean, I pretty much grew up, seeing Morris-Jenkins commercials on TV, and that was never my thought to go into a trade. Both my parents were educators, and I was going to college, get my degree, get a job, whatever that was going to be, and yeah, so I graduate. I go to UNCC. I wanted to be a teacher, and I changed my mind junior year of college to study psychology instead. And because of that, obviously, that costs more money, so I had to figure out a way to pay for it. So I started my own little DJ business. And it's pretty crazy because me and my buddy in high school always like dreamt of doing that, and there was like a specific venue that we wanted to play. And so I just kind of started doing private events and weddings and DJ and things like that. And 10 years later, I'm a part of an agency and just doing that, but traveled all over, got to see some really cool things, but I hit a ceiling and I didn't really, I was looking for more. And during that entire period, I eventually ended up looking at Morris-Jenkins to get into a trade. And plumbing was the one that interested me the most because I looked at it as something I could always learn. And so I jumped off that cliff and complete 180 career change. Everybody said I was like crazy for doing it. But I felt the need to be here. And first day was March 16th, 2020. And that was the day COVID shut everything down. So had I not come here, I would have had nothing. And so since then, I have embraced all things plumbing, all things Morris-Jenkins, and this is just a magical place to be at, you know? And yeah, so that's kind of how I ended up here.
Yeah. You've taken an interesting path at Morris-Jenkins, starting off where you did to where you are now. What was that journey like, hitting the different levels that you have along the way?
Surreal would be the best way that I can put it. I knew that I wanted to do something different, and I just remember after orientation and Build a Plumber, when I went through, because I went through Build a Plumber, and then the last day there was a speech, and one of the things was, you know, the interview's not over, like you're always in an interview. So I kind of like kept that in mind, and you know, just wanted to embrace and absorb everything that I had been taught, because in my head I'm like, this is the most successful HVAC and plumbing company in the country. What they're telling us, obviously there has to be some weight to it. So instead of me trying to do it myself, let me just take it all and then let it do that heavy lifting. And so that's pretty much what I did. So I was in the field about 6 months, and then got the opportunity to interview for a supervisor position, and was blown away by that. Didn't know, and I was kind of scared because I didn't think I was ready. And a smart individual stopped me in the hallway one day, and basically told me, you know, when will you be ready? I was like, I don't know. He goes, exactly. You just got to do it sometimes if the opportunity presents itself. And so, yeah, so did that. Learn more about plumbing, which is great for me in that role because I like to help and teach and also see the weirdest of the weird plumbing, and got to do that. And then back in August 2023, I went for the position for sales manager over the plumbing sales team and got that. And since then, for the past, 7-8 months, it's been amazing. It's cool to be a part of something that affects so many people, not just the sales guys, but drain techs and installers. Everything that we're doing, you know, affects the entire company and people's lives, and that's an awesome thing to be a part of.
Yeah. You've been snapping necks and cashing check. I'm just kidding. You've been
The
doing
Catalina wine mixer.
That's right. You have been doing a really good job. I know as soon as you stepped into that role, you turned things around. You invested your time in the people. Your unique perspective has changed that department for the better. I mean, right when you got in there, you did all the right things that you should do. Try to get to know the people. You got a picture of what wasn't working. What do we need to work on? And I mean, I think everybody on the training team, I know all of us have talked about your unique gift of educating and helping people. You have such a gift in that. And even seeing the classes that you put on, like the little trainings that you've done for your team, you implement so many great strategies that make a big difference in that team. And so I know that the good that you're doing there will be something that'll cascade and continue to grow. But you're doing a fantastic job on that team. You're doing a really good job.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's I think that's what's needed is a fresh perspective and unique approaches. I mean, that's essentially how we operate here as a company. It's very unconventional compared to everything else. And at the end of the day, it's about the people and putting processes in place and focusing on the Q12 and making sure that everybody has what they need. So
yeah. And you're talking about it's all about the people. I mean, Dewey's always been the same. It's always been about the people, growing the people, investing in the people. And I know that his investments and all of us have cascaded just like your investments and your people have. Is there something that you've learned along the way from Dewey or experiences with him that are top of mind for you?
There's so many. I mean, it's really, and it's crazy how many things actually just intersect in my views of life in general. And it's like, man, Dewey can put things into words that you weren't able to really, put your finger on before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, of all the things, you kind of cycle through them of which ones you're focusing on or hearing, that's at the top of the mind. But currently for me, it's really been your thoughts and your companions shape the kind of person you're becoming. And I think that's it's huge, especially the thoughts part. I don't think people give enough credit to how powerful your mind really is when it comes to your successes, your work-life balance, your performance, everything. What you think and who you surround yourself with have a humongous impact of what determines your life path. And so for me recently, that's been a big one, to make sure that, what you're thinking's in check.
Yeah, we've talked about that a couple of times on here. It's funny that you say that. I just put this, I have, which no one that listens to the podcast will be surprised by this, the desk calendar for You Are a Badass from Jen Sincero. I think I mention it on every single podcast episode. Thank you to Rachel, who gave me that as a gift. She knows how much I love it.
You get paid for that?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Right. The one that I just took down the other day was our thoughts are the most powerful tools we've got. Mm-hmm. And I think that it is, oftentimes we don't even stop to recognize where our thoughts are taking us, right? What am I telling myself every day about myself, about my work, about my ability to have successes? Because whatever we believe there, I've been talking to my teenage daughter often recently about self-fulfilling prophecies. Mm-hmm. And so if she, continues to say, I'm not good at math. I can't do math that's that hard. Well, what we're looking for, we'll find. And so I think it's, I just did tech talks this past month on mindset. And that was one of the biggest things we talked about is we have to recognize how powerful those thoughts are that we have about ourselves and about our potential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, this weekend, no, it was last week, Charlie is at the batting cage. And I think I told you about this, Meredith. We're at the batting cage. We just finished. And, it's our thoughts are important, but people influence a lot of thoughts for us, the people that we keep around us. I mean, there's always we are the amalgamation of the 5 closest friends that we have or the people we spend the most time with. But we're at the batting cage. We are just wrapping up. Charlie's grabbing her bag, and some of the girls are saying goodbye. And it's funny seeing how she picks up on their behaviors, and then she starts to act like them. And this girl that's maybe 1 or 2 years older than her walks up from another team and is talking to some of the girls on her team. They know each other. And Charlie is just staring at her. She's like mouth open, just staring at her. And I'm like, Charlie, it's time to go. Come on, let's go. And I'm just looking at her. I'm like, what is happening? Her mouth is open. She's just absorbing everything that she can from this girl. She don't even know her. And then I like have to come up and bump her on the arm, and then she like snaps to and looks at me, and I'm like, are you ready to go? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, what were you doing there? She goes, I don't know. And, and it's funny. And we go get in the car, and I'm like, what were you staring at her for? And I know that subconsciously she's soaking these things in. She goes, Dad, have you ever just stared and it just feels so good and you don't want to move? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, that's what was happening. I'm like, okay. But it's funny that even in that moment, I know that she was absorbing everything that girl was saying.
Yeah.
And so our thoughts, being our companions in our life, they're the things that stick around us all the time. And so being conscious of what thoughts we think about, we choose to think about, thought is choice. And then also the people that we keep around us is really important. Otherwise, you have the bad people around you, you start to slowly implement those types of things in our lives. So our thoughts are really important, and the people we have around us is really important too.
Yeah, I think it's like how we operate here. Hire for character is the first thing. If you can do that, then the entire company is everybody surrounded by the same type of caliber of people. Of course it's going to take off. It's a beautiful thing, but there's a lot of power with that. Yeah. And I think Dewey knew that in the beginning.
Yeah,
totally.
He talks a lot. Dewey always talks a lot about how human nature. We're not going to change human nature, and it is a sense of belonging. All of us crave that. Whether you're the most introverted introvert, who gets recharged by being by themselves, I still crave connection. We all do. That's the reason why you see people that start, that belong to a gang or, these other more negative cliques of people. It's because they're fulfilling this sense of belonging that they're not getting anywhere else. And so I think we pick up on these cues. I read about in getting ready for today how there's studies that if you're around people who drink more, you drink more. If you're around people who eat more, you eat more. We're just unconsciously picking up all these cues from the people that are around us. And so if we're not thoughtful about what those cues are, I would imagine if you're going to eat more and drink more, then you could also complain more. You could also blame other circumstances more. It's like it's a power that could be used for good or a power that could be used for bad.
Oh yeah. It can be a culture killer.
Yeah.
It can build culture, Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one culture that I appreciate you building on your team is sharpening each other. And I have an understanding that you have a game that you like to play that helps sharpen the tools of language. And so apparently you brought a couple of these cards today. Meredith doesn't really know what this game is. And
this is going to be fun.
Let me tell you, Edward, she got me with this little Ziploc bag of death over here. She whipped out on me last time, and you have to she just did it to me. And I was like, well, let's just keep this going. So we were going to do that today, but you stopped me not long ago and told me about this other game, and I was like, this is a good one to bring to the table. So tell us what this game is. What do we got?
It's called If You Had To. It's kind of like a Cards Against Humanity idea, but essentially I like to use different unique games that are aligned kind of with like thoughts and skills and talent needed in sales. But this one is so backwards, like the way that you have to play it. In sales, they're looking to provide options and earn business. This is actually a game where one person's a judge, and then two people submit a card to the judge, and then they have to convince the judge that you want to do mine the least. You don't want to do mine. You don't want them to pick your card. It's the one that they want to do. So it's kind of backwards thinking, like you're trying to convince somebody and persuade, but it's a different way of doing it. where it's not plumbing related. It's not saying I want you to pick it, but also it practices of how you can utilize lifestyle questions, and you have to know the person to be successful at it. So I brought a couple here today, and I guess we could do it. We'll go. I say that we'll just do 2 random cards.
Okay.
And Meredith, you can be the judge, and we'll watch you kind of squirm a little bit with the. So
I have to convince you not to choose my card.
Yeah, I'm just going to pick a random one. I don't know what it says right now, but we'll let Meredith read it. So that's the one I picked, I guess, randomly, and then Rob has. So
convince you not to choose this card.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wait.
So you're going to read that off. That's the one that I have.
Okay.
All right. And
I'm
then,
the judge.
Mm-hmm, and so then we'll both kind of state our case. Then you can ask questions if you'd like, and then you choose.
You can only stand or be hung upside down. #bat life.
That's rough.
Bat life.
Do you want me to read you Rob's as well, or does it matter?
So are we going head to head?
Yeah,
one. We just do one card.
No, she has to pick between the 2.
Okay.
After you 2 try and convince me.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I don't want to do.
Yeah, which is mine. But go ahead, you can read the other one.
The other one is everyone talks to you like you're a 2-year-old.
Okay. I'm gonna let you take the lead just so I can make sure I do this right.
Yeah, sure. I mean, at least people can talk to you. I mean, it'll be kind of annoying that you have to be spoken to like a 2-year-old, but I mean, I speak to my son like a normal person. I mean, he's 2. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be anything different. It's just maybe they'll be even more clear with you, actually. Probably help, with understanding things. But, I mean, you look comfortable sitting in that chair right now. Imagine if you couldn't. You had to hang upside down from the ceiling and do this podcast, or stand up the entire time. I mean, it's easy. It's not, ain't nothing to be taught to like a 2-year-old. You'd be too uncomfortable. Have fun sleeping. Go ahead.
I mean, at the end of the day, hanging upside down, why would you want to do that? I mean, the blood rushes to your head. The world might look cool upside down, but in reality, everybody's standing on the ceiling. It doesn't make any sense. And when we look at 2-year-olds, things are more clear, but when we can use bigger language, when we could talk to people. Even at the end of the day, if we're sitting here talking about spaghetti, I don't have to convince you in some weird way or use this spoon plane thing. We can just talk like normal people. It makes perfect sense.
So now I have to choose?
Yeah, you have some questions. Which one do you not want to do? Or do you have any questions about either of the scenarios?
I think I can make a choice.
Okay.
The one that I do not want to do is stand or be hung upside down.
It's a good choice. It's an excellent choice.
Good job.
You did so well, Meredith. You did so well. So proud of you.
So proud of you.
Maybe if it didn't say hang upside down, I could stand. But hanging upside down, heck no. I think I could. I don't know that I would love the 2-year-old piece, but I think I could maybe I'd be okay with that.
See, all right, so we'll back up a second then. So you just gave that information. Now, had Rob known that, there's nothing on there that says you actually have to hang upside down. You just have to do one of the 2. So technically, you could just stand if you wanted to. You just have 2 options.
Uh-huh.
And so, going back, looking at it, that's what we like to do is kind of reflect on it and what's other information that we could have, gotten or used out of that, or questions that we could have asked.
It's like the black swan. A bit of information that had you known that before, that it would have changed completely the questions.
Yeah. So he could have been like, I know you've been working on getting your fitness in, whatever. I know you could stand, right? Because that would be, it's better for us to stand than to sit. Let's just take hanging upside down off the table.
Exactly.
Like he could have said, okay.
It's super flexible, and that's is to get the creative juices kind of going.
Yeah.
And thinking outside the box of, you have 2 options in front of you. How can we help this person pick the best option? So,
yeah,
it's just disguised in comedy.
Daggone.
I like these cards, man. These are sweet. What is this game called again?
It's called If You Had To.
If You Had To.
Here's a couple other I'll read off to you. Go through a TSA line before you get into any bathroom. All of your meals are fed to you as if you're a baby bird. And
Gross.
every minute you need to tell everyone what time it is. It's 3:07. It's 3:08.
I like these cards. I like this game. I'll have another.
I'll have another.
I like that.
That makes me feel sweaty.
Was that Thor? Was that a Thor
It
reference?
was.
Oh,
It
nice.
was. Proud of you.
Nice. I love that scene.
If you guys have been watching the podcast, there was a scene that happened in our podcast that we did not remove from maybe 3-4 podcasts ago, is when Meredith had her coughing fit, and I could not find this particular scene from The Fifth Element, and I was showing them beforehand, but when she coughed, I told her that the headphones literally blew off my head because it was so loud, because I wear the headphones while we're recording this, and I finally showed it to them, and they thought it was funny. Okay, talking about today. Here we go. Multipass. And so, Edward, we like to send some thoughts your way of like, hey, how do you want to tackle this? What's the thing that you seem passionate about at this point in time? And it's always interesting seeing what our guest hosts choose. And so all of us have been reading a particular book, and you had a unique spin on it. And so you talked about wanting to focus in on setting goals, but then also talk about a book called Psycho-Cybernetics, which has been absolutely blowing my mind lately. I think I'm only 7 chapters in. You said you finished reading it?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that book? It is amazing. It's a good book.
To me, it's kind of, we have the fundamentals here, and then Psycho-Cybernetics seems to be kind of like that piece that makes them all make sense. Like Psycho-Cybernetics is like the engine that drives everything that we're trying to accomplish. It's in this day and age, goal setting, in my opinion, is imperative. The understanding of how to set a goal and what it is and tackling it, it's more than just saying it. It's easy to say, easier said than done. You got to have a goal. We've got our 5-5-20, but it's the understanding of what having a goal does and how to accomplish it, and putting that into like real world terms really helps guide where you need to go, but also kind of taking away the stress and anxiety of it. I think too often, if we look at a BHAG, if you will, you almost look at it kind of like, I don't know how that's ever going to be possible. The how of it is not necessarily the most important thing. It's that target. That's my destination. That's where I want to go. I don't know how I'm going to get there yet, but I know I need to go there. I like to equate goal setting kind of if you're on a top of a mountain and you're looking across a couple of valleys and rolling hills, and you see a forest ranger's tower, right? I got to get there because I'm alone, but I got to get to that tower. Now, I don't know what that journey looks like along the way, but as I'm making my way through, I'm going to lose that tower from my sight. Eventually, I'm going to be able to see it again when I crest another hill, and I might have been off course, and I can see that, and then I can adjust. It's that focus on that constantly just going towards, and then if it's actually effective in promoting that goal, then that's how you redirect. It'd be silly if you were walking in a direction and you saw that tower in the distance. The next time you see it, I was way off, but I already decided to go to this way anyways. I'm just going to keep going. No, you course correct. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of, it puts it into a perspective that way. Checking in with it, kind of check, plan, do, goal. Everything just connects together. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meredith and I were talking about the self-guiding missile, or the missile that we have for ourselves, and just with Psycho-Cybernetics. If y'all haven't read that book, it is a game changer. When was it written? Was it 60s? Is that right?
Copy.
Long time ago.
Yeah, it was a while back.
Yeah, and so just thinking about us as people. He talks about in the book that we have a destination we're going to, but it's typically predetermined in our mind. And so if we keep finding ourselves reverting back to the same types of behaviors over and over and over again, our predetermined self-guided missile, he says, isn't just like a laser straight shot. It's little corrections along the way that help us guide to a certain point. And it's interesting in the book, he's talking about that's typically our experiences from childhood, whether it be conscious or unconscious, our successes, our failures, our humiliations, all the things that have happened to us determine the type of person, quote unquote, that we are. And then we will typically find ourselves achieving that same type of goal over and over. And another analogy that I really like was him talking about the thermostat. If we're set to 72 degrees, our self-guiding missile or our self-image says, I can't be any more successful than this ceiling that I have, or I am always going to fail in a certain type of way. And it depends on how you look at things. And that, when I came across that completely shifted my thinking of, well, crap, if I always end up in the same success point and I can't break through it, is it society? Is it just the situation I'm in? Or is it the choices that I'm making? And if you're not aware of that, then it's just like, well, this is the life I live.
Yeah. It's having an awareness to it. It's when you don't have the awareness to it, that's what they call manifestation, right? It's the same thing. There's a science behind it, essentially. I'll give you an example of a really cool version of this. Going back to the DJing portion. I mentioned earlier, in high school, me and my buddy, we wanted to play this one venue just because it was a YouTube video. Super silly, but it was like our dream to do that. And fast forward to DJing and get a part of a residency, starting to make a name for myself. And this venue, by the way, is in New York, right? I've never been to New York before this. But I always just thought about that video and just imagined myself being there. 18 months into DJing, the guy who books for that actual nightclub ends up hanging out with me. He's in town one night, just randomly at the place that I'm at. And we shared an Uber. And at the end of it, he goes, oh, I'm the booking agent at this place. You can come up anytime you want. So I did it. The problem with that is I didn't have another goal after that. So I just kind of stayed there. But I didn't realize it at the time. I was like, well, now what am I going to do? That's all I wanted to do. That's why I got into this. And it's kind of silly, but looking back on that, it's like that's where the importance of having something afterwards, always progressing, because if you keep it to one thing, you're going to hit it. I promise you. Like if you are super focused on it and that's all you're desiring to do, your brain will work on the back end to help you figure out and unlock where you're going to go. It's like if you pick up anything off the table right now, you're not thinking consciously to pick up the pin. You don't tell your muscles to do that. You just do it. Baseball gets hit, leaves the bat. Outfielder immediately knows where he's going, and so many inputs, he's receiving all this information through his eyeballs. He's not thinking about anything. He's just going to catch it naturally. That's his goal, his target's in mind. And so that's kind of what it was, is eventually I didn't have a target, but also wasn't fulfilled. But then I came here, and it's like bounties of targets, So it's no shortage of that in goals here.
Right.
So.
Well, you all know how fascinated I am about the brain, okay? So, of course, all of this is like sending all kinds of things firing in my brain. I think that is... when I was having tech talks this last week, we were talking about how the brain, it's just sitting up there. I probably will say this so many times and people will get tired of hearing it. Your brain's just sitting up there in your skull, right? Mm-hmm. It's dark. There's no light. It's literally just giving you what you need to survive based on the input that you're giving it. Your sensory input, like the outfielder catching the ball, or your input in terms of thoughts, right? Or your mindset. And so one of the things that it talked about was the success mechanism, which is kind of, what we're talking about. And if you present it with success goals, then it becomes a success mechanism. It gives you the things you need to get to that goal, whatever that goal might be. But if you present it with negative goals, negative mindset, negativity, whatever that is, it operates just like a failure mechanism. It will operate faithfully in either direction.
Yep.
Which I think is just so crazy. Like our brain is just sitting up there waiting for us. Well, it's always working, but it's just waiting for us to give it the input. And then it does what it does with the input that we give it. And so Rob came down to my desk the other day. I was like, I haven't written down anything yet. The only thing I have in here is garbage in, garbage out. And so, but I think that statement applies here. It's no different than putting garbage in your body is if we're talking about what we eat and those types of things, then garbage out is the same thing with your thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
If we're putting in garbage thoughts, then we're going to get garbage outputs. And hear me clearly say, I'm not immune to garbage thoughts. I think that that's also probably part of being human as well. But really being thoughtful about what that goal is. And actually, as you were talking, I was thinking about when I was an assistant principal and I was just unhappy. I was super unhappy. I was wanting to spend more time with my kids. Like I just wanted to spend more time with my family. And I thought about it all the time. I thought about spending more time with my family all the time. And now that I'm thinking back on it, I think I was giving my brain what I wanted. And then these opportunities that I have now here, they materialized. And so I don't know, until you were talking just now, I did not put 2 and 2 together, but I think that's what that was. I think I was thinking so much about how I was missing out on things at home that then all of a sudden, there's a role for me here and Shallon's here. So I have that relationship here, and now I do have the opportunity to spend more time, with my kids and to leave if I need to go, to something that's happening at school that day or whatever the case may be. And so I'm wondering if that was the old success mechanism working in my brain.
I'm sure it was.
Guaranteed. And anybody listening to this, they're going to think back and they're going to recognize when that happened. It happens to me all the time. Like when I was a supervisor, there's more of the technical aspect, being, in the day-to-day out in the field. We come across problems and we see things we've never seen before. And I would have dreams and wake up in the middle of the night with answers, with solutions. Like, that's what it is. And then there's a bunch of funny stories. Eddie always picks on me a little bit about, you dreaming about plumbing again? But
I dream about heating and air all the time.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
But that's the thing. Your brain does not know the difference between imagination and reality. If I took a laser thermometer and put it on your forehead right now, and I told you to think about a hot fire poker just right in the center of your forehead, we'd watch the temperature of that thermometer start going up. And it heat up in only that one little spot. You see a little white spot on a thermal camera because it doesn't know. So it's important, to have the goals, but also to prepare and think things through. Because especially with us, if we're out in the field with customers, we have to be able to adapt to a situation. And the more that we can insert ourselves mentally, prepare step for those situations, we don't freeze up. If we are met with an objection or anything out in the field, same neurochemical response in your brain as if you saw a bear or a snake. It's fight or flight, and you lock up. And so it's important to have that going and flowing, and then you won't. It prevents that, helps you stay in that flow state.
Yeah, I think what you're saying with that, you're talking about the prepare step, but in the book it often talks about, there's a whole section just on imagination and just visualizing and picturing what you'd like to see. It says in the book, imagination sets the goal picture that our self-mechanism work towards. It makes us act or fail to act. And going in line with what we believe that we can achieve. Even in the softball game we had this weekend, I was telling Charlie just before we left the house, I said, Charlie, there's an interesting study out there, and it talks about imagination and visualizing and picturing what you'd like to see. I said, Charlie, you've seen some of the girls out there. If things aren't going right, what do they look like? And she showed me. She slumped her shoulders down and puts her head down. I said, how do you think that they're going to perform next? And she says, probably not good. I said, right. So if you mess up, is that the end of the world? No. So I said, when things aren't going right, what could we do with our imagination? She says, picture what you want. Essentially, she said, picture what you want to see or picture what you want to do. I said, right. So I said, the game plan here is to visualize it before the game happens. Visualize it for a little bit in the car ride over. Think about it. When you're about to throw a pitch, think about what a perfect strike looks like, and I can guarantee you'll perform better than you did. And so she struck a couple girls out this weekend. That felt good. She had a whole solid inning. It was 3 up, 3 down. It was awesome. But something the book also says is we can achieve only what we believe that we can and nothing more. Mm-hmm. And so when we think about the thermostat, if you believe that this is the situation you're always meant to be in, then that is exactly the situation that you're always going to be in, nothing more. Mm-hmm. And so I think it begs us to be more aware of our thoughts, thinking about the frequency of how often we're aware of our thoughts. Because there are some thoughts that come up without thinking. It just happens. Mm-hmm. But when we can use a little bit of metacognition and be aware and thinking about where did that come from, and is this going towards the goal that I want, or is this going to take me away from that goal? And just to your point, if you don't have a goal, if you don't know where you actually want to go or where you actually want to be, then you're just walking through the woods.
Yeah, you're flying blind. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's I can't really stress it enough. Just even having small little goals helps, because if you feel like you're in a rut, you're stuck, or anything like that, just do something. Once again, if it's truly worth doing badly until you get good at it. And so maybe you're thinking that tasks are too daunting. Tell you the way I started off and switched everything, like when I started reading this book, one of the things it tells you to do, and you probably never even thought about it, I didn't, but in the mornings, it's kind of, I'm on autopilot, and I wanted to get out of that a little bit. And part of that autopilot is how I put my shoes on. Put them on, same way every single time. Never really thought about it. But now I consciously do it the opposite way. And I start every day doing it. I know I want to put it on my left foot, but I'm going to start with my right. And there's still mornings where I'll put it on my left foot first, and I'll forget. I'll take my shoes off, and then I'll do it all over again. Just little things like that. It's because that is that one goal that you just had. It doesn't really determine anything, but it gets that success mechanism firing in your head, and now you've accomplished something. And now you want to chase that feeling again because you had positive reinforcement from it. We love the feeling of accomplishing a goal. And so when you start with just little tiny innocuous ones, it'll bloom, and then you'll feel motivated because you're going to chase that feeling constantly.
Are you doing sock, shoe, shoe? Sock, shoe?
I go sock, shoe. It's weird. I start on the right foot with socks, go to left, and then I guess I bounce back across naturally left to right. So I start right to left to right. I guess I'm a typewriter or eating corn. I don't know. I don't know what that would be.
I'm going to have to pay attention. I don't even think I know.
Yeah.
I totally get the autopilot thing in the morning. Sometimes it's like that thing where I ask myself, did I take my vitamins? It becomes such a part of your routine that you don't even know if you did it. Or in what order. I'm sure I put my socks on the same way every day, and I've never even noticed that.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Would you want to do it hanging upside down? Melodiff.
No, still not down with the upside down. Yeah, that, so I thought that was interesting too to start, and we've talked a little bit about this before about starting small. Another thing that I picked up on there was this idea of mental rehearsal, because obviously we always want to try and tell people who are listening, what can you do? Because I did write down to ask both of you, when it when it comes down to it, how often do we really sit down and make an image crystal clear? And he talks about this movie. Of course, I want to follow all the directions, right? So it tells exactly how to do it step by step. I want to say it's at the end of chapter 3, but where he says to start jotting down like you're watching yourself on a movie screen. So I'm sitting in a theater, I'm watching myself on the screen, I am the main character of said movie, and to describe everything in as much detail as you possibly can, where you are, what you look like, who you're with, all of those things. And so I did that because, of course, I need to know before I get on here and talk about it. I need to know like what that feels like, what that looks like. And it was surprisingly easier than I thought to imagine myself up on this screen and where I am and who I'm with and what I'm doing and what I look like. Like what are my facial expressions like? Because he says in there, get as detailed as possible. And so I did. And so I thought about it from a couple of different angles, almost like I was watching maybe a mini series. And, but there was one of them, which I talked with Rob about this the day after, where I was talking about myself, I guess, in my career. And so one of the visualizations that I had was speaking in front of a large group of people, like at a conference, perhaps, where people are coming to get better themselves. And I couldn't think of what the topic would be about. So I just kind of wrote that question down as I was imagining myself on the screen. Like, what would I be talking about? I feel like I've dabbled in so many different things here that I don't know that I'm quite sure of that path just yet. But he also says in the book that we don't know everything right now. And that's okay. So it was interesting. Rob came down, I was sharing with him what I was doing, and he said something about Brene Brown, because we tend to
talk about her all the time.
Maybe one day she'll listen to our podcast. I would die. Anyway.
You're going to get a message later. Good job, girl.
I would literally die. And then it was funny, the next morning I was like, what podcast can I listen to on my way to work this morning? And I know we're doing an episode on vulnerability coming up. And so I was like, one of the first ones that popped up was her and Adam Grant talking about vulnerability. So then I got here and I told Rob, I'm like, was that my success mechanism? Was that like, why did I choose that one to land on? I've listened to every single one of her podcasts, but this was one where she was guest hosting on his podcast. And so of all the podcasts that I could have picked, was there a reason why that was the one I listened to that day? So it's kind of like, is that the success mechanism working? I don't think I know all of those answers yet. But it was really interesting to me how just starting there with imagining myself on that movie screen, was that pushing some dominoes? You know, I don't know all of that yet. And I think I have to be okay with not knowing all of that yet. The patience for that as well.
What was funny is she came down the hall and started this path. What was that? This happened, and then it came on my phone, and I found it, and what was that? And then before she said, was that my success mechanism, she looked at me, I was like, Jesus? What was that?
Jesus who broke into the Pizza Hut. I don't know if you
But I do like, so I guess going back to my question is, do you, or have you, and do we think that others really sit down and make a crystal clear picture of what the success of that goal looks like? Or just, I wasn't even really thinking about it in terms of goals. I was just thinking about, this is what I want. And that is a goal, I guess. This is what I want. And picturing that, just trying to make it so crystal clear in my mind.
Yeah, 100%. And the biggest thing is, and when we say we're talking about goals, and what you're trying to achieve is not just a goal that is put on you by somebody else. This is something you desire. You desire it. If you desire it, then it's going to be a lot easier to see what that looks like. Backing up to the specific venue I wanted to DJ at. It was specific down to the night, the actual name of the themed party that they threw, and that's the one that I did. Not just playing in that venue. It was a very specific what I wanted with that. And that is, the more specific, the better. And so that's the question, is that my success mechanism? Like you're saying, I like to think of it as it probably 100%, it is. And the way I visualize it, it's like, okay, I know what I want to do. That's what it is. Now, there's a part of my mind I have no access to consciously, but as soon as I want that in the front of my brain, there's a bunch of little, minions in there, and they're going through all of your filing cabinets of every experience, because it's all stored in there. We just can't access it. But every memory, everything we've done is in there, and it takes all of those experiences, and this links up to figure out, to put you in a spot so you notice what needs to be there for you. So it is kind of, it's on autopilot in a weird way, but it's running in the background the entire time and piecing together fragments of memories, and this could be your answer and the path to it. So
yeah, it sounds like you're expanding and tapping into what that self-image, what he talks about in the book. This is who I see myself being or doing. And just like Edward, you're saying, the little minions go through and start filtering out information, figuring out how can we get you there. But in the book, he talks about when you expand on your self-image, it expands what's possible. And so now you're able to find these moments where, hey, this is the venue that I want to be at. And there's a little bit of luck, maybe a little Jesus in there, probably more than we think. But then also you're using the tools that you're given to find that. And so you're given a tool to use, and if you know how to use it, all of a sudden things get a lot easier. You don't want to use a screwdriver where you need a hammer. So being able to tap into that toolbox and say, hey, how can I expand on this self-image? What I keep going back, I got the book right here, but I keep going back to the self-image piece, because it's really in chapter 1. He talks about what self-image is, and I think it's important for us to know what that is, because if you don't really know what self-image is, then you don't have a landing point, or you don't really have a taking off point, I should say. But the self-image, how he defines it in there, is a conception of the sort of person that I am. And so if we think about, who am I trying to become? I know who I am. Who am I trying to be? I have to now visualize what that might look like in as much detail as I can. And that takes some time. But when you can visualize what it is and what that standing on stage might look like, you start to have to think about, okay, I can see that that ranger station off in the distance there. Okay, I can do that. Now I'm going to start walking through the woods. I at least have an azimuth, a direction of which direction I'm going to go. But you're going to end up in a little valley, and you're not going to be able to see which way you need to go, but I need to keep moving forward. And what that might look like daily is, okay, I need to continue to educate myself. If I want to be a better manager, if I want to be a better husband, better wife, a better parent, whatever that long-term goal is, you're going to be in valleys where you come home at the end of the day and you're stinking tired. But your kid's like, can you please tuck me in? And you're like, please, Lord, no. Daddy's tired. But if you want to be a better parent, you have to have those valley moments where may not be in it, but you're still pushing forward. That's walking through the valley. And then when you get to the top of the little hill, and then boom, I can see it. When your kid comes and sits in your lap or gives you a hug and tells you that they love you, you know that you're moving in the right direction. But it might not have seemed like it when you're in the valley back there. So if you want to stand on stage and do it, it's, okay, what type of person do I need to become in order to get there? Jim Rohn he talks about that a lot of, it's not the destination, it's who you become along the way. So when I can add those moments together, ultimately it culminates in that self-image later on. But we'll never rise to that if you believe that you can't. And if you don't take any steps towards it, this is just who I am. then that will be the life that you continue to live. And I keep telling Meredith, I get so pumped about reading this book because I'm like, dude, if you don't like who you are, guess what? You can change it.
Yeah.
Like, you totally can. All you got to do is believe that you can and start taking steps in that direction. Eventually you'll get there.
Sometimes it's tough love to hear that, but I mean, at the end of the day, you have complete control over that. If you feel trapped, it's because you're telling yourself that you're trapped. You can do something about it, and that's the thing. Is like, you gotta start with yourself first. And I'm glad you brought that up. You know, with self-image, if you don't have that, it's going to be really difficult to even accomplish any goal. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then how are you ever going to attain that? But once you have that, it's that specificity, the clear direction of the goal, defined, outlined, however you want, you need it. And today's more important than ever. We're too distracted. There's too many things that want our attention at all times. And it's easy to fall into complacency and just coast. I mean, that's kind of I feel like the goal for a lot of these big companies out there, and social media just wants your attention. And if you're able to tune that out and focus and tap in, it's going to help, because it's only going to get worse. I mean, it really is. As technology evolves and things become easier to attain, instant gratifications at an all-time high. You know, it's you don't have to work for things anymore as much as you think you used to. It's at the push of a button. So that's why it becomes daunting. And I think that this helps with those who are trying to accomplish something but don't know how to get there. It's as you would say in the golf world, let the club do the work. Don't force the issue. You know, just stay the course and eyes on the prize.
That's the truth. I almost killed people the last time I went and did Top Golf. We went to the Panther Stadium. Have you done the Top Golf at the Panther Stadium before?
I hadn't done that one.
Y'all, I went with Mark and company, some of his supervisors, and I think Sam Pace. Yeah, Sam Pace was there, and so it was pretty wild. You go to the Panther Stadium, and they set up the little landing zones out there in the field. I mean, that field was probably tore up from the amount of golf balls that got hit out there. But it was really my first time driving, so I'm just figuring this out. So I go up to the, I don't even know what you call it, the tee box. Tee box, did I get it right?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. So I go up there and I line up and I start hitting the ball. And some of them actually go straight, which I was surprised. And I'm like, I'm just going to crush this next one, see where it goes. And y'all, that thing went far right, way right.
Oh yeah.
Like over, and it almost hits the stands, like the seats over on the right-hand side. It went far, but far right. And I'm like, dang, I messed that up. And so I do it again, and it keeps going right. And I'm thinking from shooting, I'm like, if I'm going right, I need to adjust left. So I asked Sam, I'm like, do I like just angle a little bit? And he's like, yeah, go ahead and do that. So I try it. Finally, it goes straight.
Yeah.
I keep hitting the ball. Where do you think it goes now? Farther to the right. And I'm like, dude, what the heck? So I angle a little bit more. I just take he didn't tell me to go more, but I just did it myself. So I angle more. By the end of this, I'm at 45 degrees off to the left. And I finally hook one straight, and it goes straight, but I'm angled to the left.
Yeah.
And it almost took out some people that were coming in on the left-hand side. But when we think about those adjustments, like you're in the spot that you're in right now, and if your ball is not going in the right direction, you have to make adjustments. But in that case, I was forcing it. I was gripping that club too tight. I was holding on to it thinking I could force it, and really I needed to relax. And then of course Sam corrects me again. He's like, just relax a little bit. Don't grip it so hard. And so I did that, and then finally it was the end of the day, but I finally got it. And I was like, oh, I need to try that. And the next time I went, I'd use that advice, and it helped me go in the direction I needed to go. Not murdering people.
Golf is my favorite sport to use because there's so many analogies in life, and especially here, that you can utilize with that. How frustrating was that for you? Because I know you, and you're very good at pretty much everything you do, but you probably got humbled a little bit, I would say.
Yeah, it wasn't cute, Edward.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be there socializing with each other, but I was locked in because
Rob's up there. Give me another one. What movie is that in?
Oh, Tin Cup, my favorite movie of all time.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Another one. Rob's like, don't Don't talk to me.
I wanted to go rent my own tee box just so I could go over there and try to figure it out by myself. I don't like not being good at things. It was frustrating, but I also got excited because it was something for me. I like accuracy games like that.
Sure.
And it's something that I'm not good at, and so it was definitely humbling, but it was a lot of fun. And I've got to go a couple of times after that with some friends, and I will say that I almost got to, I don't know how I did this. It was actually at Topgolf, and I hit the ball. I still don't know how it happened, but it bounced right. It hit the box that the balls roll out of and went straight backwards and bounced off the ceiling and then went down the hall behind me and left again. And
you broke physics.
I don't know how I still don't know how that worked.
You broke reality.
But I just hear going down, and one of the guys that was with me just started laughing, and he's like, "I'll go get it." And I'm like, I'm trying not to look backwards because when everybody
Who hit
turns
that shot?
backwards, yeah, who was it?
Who
Why
hit
did
that?
you do that, Edward? Jeez, man, it was bad.
If all right, so you play any other sports?
Did I? Yeah, I did a lot. Wrestling, baseball, soccer. Played a lot of different sports. Swam.
Well, let's think of a tennis racket, right? Playing tennis. All right. You've played tennis before, right?
Yeah.
Ball comes to you. We kind of talked about it earlier with the baseball, right? And this is why golf is so hard. Because when we return a ball in tennis, or we swing at a pitch or catch a ball or anything, we are reacting to something happening and adjusting subconsciously. We're not thinking about it. But when you get over a golf ball, nothing's moving. It is all dependent on you to make the reaction. But how do you do that if it's just right in front of you?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when swing thoughts come into mind. That's why people are thinking, all right, check my grip, check that, check. Pro golfers don't think about that. They have no thought of that. They think of where they want the ball to go, and it is mind-blowing. If you just think of how you want that ball to fly, your body will just put you in the position to do it.
How long do you think that, I mean, you've been golfing for a long time, so how long do you think that young golfers or early golfers have to think about their grip, swing, mechanics before it becomes second nature where you just do?
Any kid right now would probably wipe the floor with anybody who plays golf a lot on a putting green. They will make more putts because they're not thinking about it. They just want to hit it in the hole, and they do it. And it's crazy. Like, kids actually putt better, because they don't put any thought into it. It's free. They're not thinking about it. You'll actually, if you were putting, next time you go play putt in Myrtle Beach, just look at the hole. Don't look at the ball. Just kind of make your stroke, but stare where you want it to go. You will naturally just put it closer than if you were looking down at the ball itself. So it's not losing that. Don't lose that actual, freedom in your head. It's when you have too many thoughts is where you lock up.
I'll use that the next time I play against Meredith.
I was getting ready to say, Rob should use that the next time.
I've lost twice.
We've
played thrice. I won one. We played in, was it Minnesota? Or was that where we were? So we were in Minnesota. We had it was after one of the days. We got food. We were doing a Next Star training, and then it was like we walked around this mall.
Mall of America.
Yeah, it's huge. That place is massive. I took a lot of photos. And so then we had a little time, and then they had a little indoor putt-putt, so we went and did that. It was like black light stuff. And I was getting a little irritated because I was getting beat by quite a few strokes. And then we had a training team outing, and I went and played with the team. Someone who is scary, Catherine.
Yes, stay away.
That child will kill somebody in there. And so she makes me look good at golf. So we go there, we do that, and I beat her. We played 2 rounds. I beat her in the first by not much, and I just humbly walk over and brag. And then the next game, it was a bloodbath. I got beat again. She just looked at me. I'm like, shut up. Go away. So I'll remember that for the next one. Stare at the hole.
Yeah, just stare at the hole.
Yeah.
I'm going to take private
funny.
lessons in your office just so I can beat her whenever it comes up next time.
Yeah. It is interesting that what you bring up about kids, because they're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because it would make no sense for them to be able to make it at all. It's so interesting because we're not letting all the other thoughts cloud. It's just clearing the mind, and how difficult that is sometimes to get all the other thoughts to leave us alone for a little bit, to just focus on even when I was doing that, trying to imagine myself on the screen, it was still really, I guess it's kind of like meditation, where it's really hard to sit and just focus on that one thing for a little while without those other thoughts starting to creep in. Even things like, I'm starting to get hungry, or, maybe I should see where my daughter was in Washington, D.C. I was like, I should check where she is. Let me get on Life 360, going back to what you were saying about, the technology we have at our hands. But I think that's maybe part of this is also, too, quieting all that other stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard.
While you're trying to focus on. And that was something you said earlier, Edward, about desire. And I think that was something that I picked up on. What he was talking about is like, it can't just be just like positive thinking.
Yeah.
It's not just like be positive. It's more than that. It's like, it's not just think positive thoughts. It's more of like a desire to see something come to fruition. It's got to be from the depths.
Yeah.
It can't just be like, oh man, it would be nice to speak in front of a group or whatever. It's got to be like, this is what I want. For that success mechanism to take over and start doing some work for you. It's got to be, you've got to really want it.
Yep.
So I think that's important for people to remember too, is it's not just, and I don't think everything that your success mechanism gives you is going to be necessarily stuff you want to hear. Where I think goes back to, you said tough love too.
Yeah.
The missile thing. So I'll be honest, I don't know how a missile works. I mean, I think in the back of my head, I knew. Maybe I didn't. That whole part about how it's like, it's a little too far to the right. It's a little too far to the left. It's like constantly course correcting. I guess certain kind of missiles. I don't know.
I mean, most of them, today there's a lot of laser guided. So the little dot gets put on the target and it follows where the dot is. But technically, if it's in the air, it's flying, but you have to deal with turbulence along the way, wind. And so it blows it right, left. And so it's constantly working. It's flying fast to get there. But it's no different than us. We're auto correcting along the way. I heard something, Jordan. I know y'all know who Jordan Peterson is.
Oh, yeah.
I always have to have my dictionary on the table when I'm listening to him. It ties right into this, and it really made me understand myself and then just people when we're talking to him. But he says, when we, in the fabric of our being, who we are, our personality, our life, when bad things happen to us, it kind of puts little holes in the fabric of who we are. You have challenging moments, you have life-changing things, they become holes. And some people focus on the holes because they don't want to relive those experiences. So when bad things happen, it's like, okay, I need to avoid this, and I need to avoid that, and I need to avoid this. And so they're constantly navigating their life, trying to avoid those repeat things, which all of us kind of do that. Bad things happen. I don't want to relive that. If you are a pitcher and you pitch and you had a bad inning, and it's like, man, the weather was like this, or man, the way that batter looked at me, it just threw me off. And so then when you see somebody that looks like that again, you're like, oh my gosh, here it is again. So he says that people avoid these challenging circumstances in their life, and in order to help guide them, they are constantly thinking about the holes so that they don't relive them. So when they meet people, circumstances, whatever, they're always thinking about it. And even before they run into these circumstances, they're pre-gaming, avoid this, avoid that. And so their mind is in a negative mindset versus just walk the path.
Yep.
You might hit the same hole again.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so he says, of course, and he's a psychologist, he talks about patching those holes. That's where help comes in, and you have to figure out how do we navigate that and patch it so that you now can walk more freely instead of living a life navigating around the holes. So I think that's the other piece. We have self-image. I need to know who I am. I need to think about the person that I want to become. Then there's the imagination piece, which is I need to spend some time thinking about what this experience is going to be like, or what this future me is going to be like. Even in the book, he talks about imagining yourself bigger than life, bigger than you currently are, which Matt Fury was on a podcast, and he says, imagine yourself not the size that you are, but 8 or 10 feet tall. Imagine you're huge. Imagine you have to duck your head walking into the room. If you're standing on stage, you're huge, because that changes the psychology behind who you are. It brings you confidence. You start thinking, I'm bigger than everybody. I feel more confident in myself. This is the type of speech I'm going to deliver. And then you start thinking, okay, if I'm going to talk like that, what else do I need in order to get there? And so when we're thinking about the positives of how the experience is going to be, that mechanism is going to help guide you in that direction versus just watch out for the negatives. If I'm watching out for the negatives, I'm thinking negatively versus positively.
Yeah. The negatives thing, in my opinion, you can combat it pretty easily. And it comes down, a lot of it comes down to like preparation and processes for you. I'm going to do another golf analogy. If you went and played golf right now and you wouldn't know, you borrowed some clubs from a buddy and he had some extra balls, you're going to use those. They're all different types of golf balls.
I'll bring helmets for all of you.
We got helmets. We got an air horn to clear the fairway, But yeah, so you get up there, you hit maybe 3 times, you hit the ball really well. You're like, man, if I could just do that every time. But you've got borrowed clubs, you've got different types of golf balls. The problem is you have too many variables going on. So you're having these negative thoughts about something, and we take this to the field. You say you're a drain tech and you're in a slump, or a salesman in a slump, and you're trying to work it out and figure out why you're hitting bad shots. Well, first off, if you hit a bad shot, just take it in. Just accept it. I hit a bad shot. I'm going to recognize that. But after this, I'm focusing on the next one. And that's it. And that is so much easier to do, say, than actually do. I understand that. Don't get me wrong. But that is what it would take. When you hit a good shot, you need to sit in it, reflect, and absorb everything that happened that made that possible. Relive that moment, just like you would imagine a future moment in your head. But professional golfers, unlike you in the story, have custom equipment. They use the same ball. They have everything tailor-made, so if there is a mistake, it's easier for them to identify where they need to do a course correction. Same thing here. That is why we have the service system. That is your foundation to move through a call. You're hitting all these steps. As long as you're hitting all your steps in the service system and your process is down pat, if you're having issues or you're struggling a little bit performance-wise, then it's easier to identify where you might have a little bit of a shortcoming. But if you're doing the agenda one call and not doing it the next, doing a big Explorer one call, forgot to go in the crawl space the next, all these little things, you kind of get lost and you're trying to figure out where it's at. Doing the same thing, habits and clear defined goals will help guide you and help you correct more, being aware of what you're using already.
It sounds like at the core of that, the consistency is extremely important for the success that we're trying to bring.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There has to be consistency. I mean, you want to be able to have a repeatable behavior to make it natural. If you don't, we'll do the agenda. If you don't do it every single call, or you're not saying it 20 times in the morning before your 8 a.m., it's never going to be natural. It's never going to flow. It has to get to the point where it becomes you. I mean, not everybody's going to be Rob Johnson out in the field, doing the service system that way. There are elements of it that need to be done, but it needs to be authentic to the person. The best way you do that is just get in the habit, get in the groove, and then you're not thinking about it. One less thing to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like if we're looking at our life if we're looking at this book, if we're looking at a game, really the pre-practice, the ahead of time thoughts, the visualization, recognizing where you are while you're in the game as it's happening, not focus on the negatives is really important. Just letting, if it's a bad shot, it's a bad moment, it's just a bad moment. That's all it is. I think you were just talking about the other day, it's if I have a bad experience, it doesn't mean that that's who I am. It's just I just had a bad day or I had a bad moment. It doesn't define who you are. And those little course corrections along the way help keep us on track. And I think that what you were saying earlier, Meredith, with the missile, of those course corrections are moments that weren't ideal. So just talking through that, in the course of a missile being fired to where it lands, how many course corrections actually happen?
Seems like a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot. So if we think about that in our life, those course corrections are actually positives because they let us know I got a little bit too far off course and now I'm moving in the right direction. So every one of those little moments, almost like a pinball, it's keeping me in line with that final destination, which if you kind of reverse engineer that, those negatives can be positives if you look at it like that. Or you can spend your entire life saying, look how many times I messed up. And that's not going to... It's the same flight path.
Yeah.
It just completely, the way you look at it is completely different.
Yeah. Look how many times the right thing was put in my path instead of look how many potholes I hit. I mean, it's just, all in. I think that's where it is. I think even in First Break All the Rules, they talk about tough love. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's I love you enough to give you the feedback you need to stay on the course that you want to be on. But it might not be what you want to hear. That's tough love. And I think that's that idea of feedback, because that's what the missile's getting, right? It's like the wind's blowing a little bit. The feedback is adjust to the right, adjust. And we're adjusting from this feedback that we're getting from all different sources, whether that feedback is feedback we want to hear or not.
Jimmy Rohn, he says, don't join an easy crowd. You won't grow there. You have to go where the expectations and demand for performance are high. So that tough love's got to come from people that are willing to give it to you. If you got people just fluffing you up all the time, you're doing a great job. Oh, no, it was okay. You were fine. I mean, if I ask for feedback and somebody just says, it was good, I'm like, I'm not going to talk to you no more. I'm going to go talk to somebody that's gonna be like, you suck. Maybe not just to say it, but, if it's like, hey, you can work on this, that's perfect. I mean, if it is great, great. And like you said, lock it in. But at the same time, there's always little bits of improvement. And we can a lot of times be our own worst critic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what can we do? So walking away from this today, we talked about psycho-cybernetics. We talked about the book. We probably only scratched like 0.1% of what's in this book. If you haven't read the book or even heard of it, go check it out. I don't think it's in the library. It will be.
I'm putting one copy in the library today.
Nice.
There's only one. You're doing it today?
Yep.
Y'all, well, this is going to get released later, but maybe somebody will check it out by then. We'll have to go check. So what Edward, what do you feel like are the things that we need to think about walking away from today? I know we talked about a little bit of goals and we talked a little bit about the book Psycho-Cybernetics, but what's the stuff that we need to remember?
I think we accomplish something. We can react to something a lot easier than be proactive nowadays. That's what so we can, these goals that we accomplish and problem solve for, we're reacting to, right? It's really easy to catch the ball and move because we're not thinking about it. We're just doing something because we have a time frame before that ball hits us in the face. We just instinctively do it. And that's easy to do. But when you have to be the one to make the move and to get the motor going and turn the flywheel, it's really, really hard to move at first. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort. And you think you're not going to get anywhere, but keep going. I promise you, you will. We live in a time where the easy way out, we're becoming accustomed to it, and we forget that we are so distracted that if we can have that focus and we're constantly checking in on it and just starting, and if you need to switch the foot that you put your shoe on in the morning first, then start there.
Yeah.
And then watch yourself start tackling goals left and right.
Cool. Well said. Yeah. This book is huge. There's a bunch of chapters in it. It's not too hard of a read. He puts it in a pretty simple language for you to understand. Good analogies in there. And there's some pretty good, even if you just go to Apple Podcasts and look up the book Psycho-Cybernetics, there's a ton of people that have interviewed Matt Fury, who's done the commentary, and wrote some different excerpts in there of application. And one thing that Meredith and I were talking about, she's like, it's just kind of different. Instead of just reading it and you just ponder a section, they're like, go and do this. Like you have to go and do something with it. Because just like anything, if you just think about it, it's one thing. If you go and actually do the tasks of what the book is asking you to do, that's when the change happens. But of course, you got to find the time to do it. If you really want to change, you got to find the time to do it.
Yeah, with the making the picture, like when I was imagining myself, I think he says on there that you should repeat that same thing for 21 days. Like, and going back to our last episode on discipline, talk about some discipline to make some time for yourself because I think what he was getting at is that every day that you do this, you see yourself on the screen, you'll see additional details. You'll see other things that will unlock more of the success mechanism and the things that you're trying to pull from that back of your brain that we don't have access to. But 21 days that's a commitment. It's a commitment to even put your shoes on differently for 21 days. But I think those small successes, I think, and I think that comes from that desire too, that we talked about. I have a desire to want to do something different.
That makes a connection in my mind. And when I say this, then we're going to roll into your questions, because everybody's got to answer some questions. But I'm watching this show called Physical 100. Have y'all heard of that?
Oh, yes.
You're watching it? Mm-hmm. Which episode are you on?
I can't remember. I think like episode 3
of this newest season or last season
of the newest one. I believe. Okay. Yeah, I haven't really followed along. I just like to watch them do insanely.
It's a lot of reading.
Yeah.
I was letting Charlie watch it, and then I was like, they're saying a lot of cuss words on there. And it's in another language. It's in Korean, but there's the subtitles. So I'm like, Jack's like, that's a bad word. I'm like, all right, buddy, let's just turn this off. But the recent episode, they run into a maze, and there's sandbags in the middle of the maze. I'm probably going to spoil it for you. I won't tell you who won, because I can't remember their names. So, but there's sandbags in the middle of the maze, and then there's 3 locations in the maze, and they have to run in as a teams of 5. They grab the sandbags and they have to put them in these areas, but there's a scale in each one of the areas, big metal containers, scale right in the middle, and then this only 15 minutes is all they have, and they have to conquer the zone by putting more sandbags in the scale, and whoever is as heaviest wins. And the interesting part is that you have to have a strategy. If you try to tackle all 3 zones for your team, you only have 5 people, you're probably not going to win. So a lot of the teams are like, let's focus in 2 areas only, put all our efforts into that, and we'll be good. And so it's interesting watching the teams. Some of them tackle each other in the maze and steal from each other. Others are just working diligently. There are heavier things in the maze that you go find and you can put in there, but they take up more space, but they may not weigh as much as using sandbags in that space. So it's really cool. But just as you were talking about those little disciplines every day, if you were to imagine the scale already having weight on the other side and yours is empty, and you start putting sandbags in there, you don't see the change until you've balanced it. And you really won't see change until you put that next sandbag in there and slowly the scale will tip.
Yep.
It's no different than anything else that we do. If you're going to start a new habit, you just threw one sandbag in there. There's already weight on the other side of life. If you don't keep putting sandbags in there, you won't see the change. You have to do it every single day. And I mean, I think that's the part of getting the flywheel going is it's heavy. It's meant to be heavy because once you get the momentum going, then it's seemingly unstoppable, or it takes a really long time. So even if you miss a day of working out or you miss a day of your diet, it's not a failure. It's just you missed a day. Yep. Just put a sandbag in there the next day. Yep. I think that's important.
Yep.
Edward, we got some questions for you. Rapid fire questions. Then we have some songs, and then we'll wrap up today. So Meredith, hit us up with these questions. What you got?
Okay. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, we're going back and forth. The first one, fill in the blank.
Okay.
Morris-Jenkins is...
fundamental in changing people's lives.
Ooh, I like that. Fundamental in changing people's lives.
I like that. Good one. All right, next one. What is something that people often get wrong about Edward?
I think that, this is awesome. I don't know.
That you actually shave your face every day?
I think that I would say probably, yeah, that would be my age. Most people get that wrong. I don't look anything like what my age is. No, I think, I don't know. I don't know what, I think, I don't know how much I, put into thinking about. I've actually tried to get away from thinking about what others think about me and what they might have wrong. But I would say that in the past, and to this day, it's that I am constantly, thinking, and my wheels spin. I get kind of lost in thought, and what happens is it can come off as I'm disinterested or not paying attention to you, or it can be kind of like a little bit direct. And this will be closer like with family, not necessarily so much here, but that at the end of the day, like I truly care about family, everybody here, and just want to give back to help people develop, grow in their lives. I know I'm in the I'm in a position now where I'm able to do that at a point I've never been able, to have that much impact. And so for me, it's to be able to continue doing that is one of that's the driving force behind everything I do here, and why my head pops off the pillow in the morning. Nothing to do with money, nothing to do with prestige, title, honor. The biggest thing for me is to see a light bulb go off, or to see somebody have elation on their face for something that they did. Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome. I also have to say, too, that I've recognized that in you since the moment that I met you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
100%.
Yep. And also, too, if Edward, even if he looks up at the ceiling at all, you should take that as a compliment, because you've said something that has got his
made him
wheels
thinking.
turning.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yes. 100%.
All right. Next question. What's the last show you binge watched and loved?
Currently, right now, that Patriots documentary on Apple TV, it's awesome. And I've learned that football players at the professional level are crazy. Oh my goodness.
You had to watch the documentary for that?
I mean, it's just, I guess it's a reminder. I mean, I knew it, and I grew up, like my roommates in college were D1 offensive linemen, so I was around it, but it's like anything else. At that level, it's a different gear, and just, it's so fascinating and entertaining to watch. So
Yeah. All right. Question number 4 in rapid fire questions. Give us a concert you'll never forget.
first one, Foo Fighters. Saw
Heck
two
yeah.
pregnant women get into a fight over a corn dog, and my dad said, "Son, we need to leave." I was 11.
That sounds like a good band name
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Two pregnant women fight over corn dog. Son, it's time to leave.
Yeah, I was like 12 years old at the time, and it was at City Fest in Charlotte downtown when they still had that. And I remember it was like 2 or 3 songs in, and we had to leave because it got too rowdy. But yeah,
Dude, that's awesome. That's so awesome.
Tag
Yeah.
on you ladies,
Yes.
ruining the first concert.
Oh yeah,
That sounds like they made the
Oh,
first
no,
concert
no,
for him.
it's
Memorable.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was a great time.
All right, what's your favorite meal?
Chicken casserole, pineapple casserole, and broccoli. It's my mom's. It's a meal my mom always made. It would be my favorite meal forever, for sure.
And broccoli. Okay.
It's the way it all goes together.
Okay.
It's a thing.
Okay.
I love a casserole.
Give us a snapshot of an ordinary moment in your life that brought you great joy.
The first time I heard my son laugh, and I just bit into a donut in front of him. That is all. Nothing out of the ordinary, and it was the first time he like belly laughed, like that real guttural, almost animalistic, and I was so perplexed. I'm like mid-chew, like, looking at him, and and I took another bite, and he thought it was the funniest thing. He has not laughed at me eating a donut ever since.
He's like, I've tried to recreate this moment so many times.
I have, and to no avail. But yes, that was, I'd say, just caught me off guard big time. So, yeah.
Okay.
Pure joy, baby laughs.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What is one thing you are deeply grateful for right now?
Family. Yeah. I mean, it's, well, my son, is 2.5 right now. He'll be 3 in July. It just completely flipped me upside down. There's really nothing else I can say outside of being grateful. It's the weirdest thing to see somebody a little human doing mannerisms of yours they've never even seen you do, and you're like, how is that happening right now?
Yeah.
It's that love. Oh yeah, that's it for sure.
Love
That's
that.
awesome.
Love that. Okay, next segment is Edward's 5-song playlist. Y'all, I'm not going to lie. When he were spouting these off earlier, I think I know one artist on this list. And there were some interesting names. So we're going to go down the list real quick. So very first one on Edward's top 5 song playlist, Ain't No Thing by Outkast. And this is the only band that I know.
That's right, yeah.
I know that this was hard for you. I mean, going back to the DJ thing, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
All right, the next one, Change Your Mind by Larnell Lewis.
Yeah, Larnell Lewis is the best drummer in the world right now, in my opinion. There's another guy that's really good, too. His name's like Esteban something. He's better technically. But
Well, you did good with that accent there.
yeah, it's Esteban. I can't remember his last name. Larnell Lewis it's like a black hole of pocket drumming. It's so deep and just so funky. But that specific song is, if you can't move to that one, then I don't know what to tell you.
Maybe we need to play it and then, see you move.
Oh, there is a new commercial coming out with some choreography in it that I was not aware of.
Oh,
Too much
got him.
beforehand. I knew there would be some, but yeah.
Who done did that to you? Was that Corey?
Yeah.
Corey.
The guy. The guy that helps us record these.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Robbie, but Corey got you.
Oh yeah, you got me.
We
He gets me
need
a
to
lot.
have Randall make a Giphy of that.
Oh yeah.
We can make it happen. He was telling me about that. All right, so the next one is by the Bloody Beetroots, Warp 1.9.
Yeah, it's actually, to be honest with you, I'll tell you, these songs, the reason I picked these, I just went onto my iTunes and put it in order of most played. Because there would have to be something there, because it would be really difficult for me to choose, but it actually worked out because, there is a reason why those are the most played, because I go back to them a lot. That one in particular is, if you hear it, it'll make you be like, why is this even on the list? It just sounds like nonsense, but it happened. It's a song that was at a time in my life when I was wanting to DJ at the beginning of what I wanted. That song was like the popular one, and it's in my group of friends, that life, that career of DJing, very special place in that song.
It's funny how songs and smells can bring back such visceral memories of things.
Oh yeah.
So this next one, County Down,
Yeah.
by Phil Keggy.
Yeah, Phil Keggy. He's a guitar player, and it's my dad listened to him a lot growing up, and I inadvertently listened to him a lot too. So there's that tied to it as well. But as I, go forward in life, I realize, man, he's really good. He's only got 9 fingers. It's crazy. So he's just this really, really talented, like prodigy guitar player.
Talk about your success mechanism.
If guitar wasn't hard enough, do it with 9
Seriously.
fingers.
Oh yeah, it's impressive to see. But that song is just, it just takes me back.
Dang.
Yeah.
Is he a righty?
He's a righty
And is he missing a finger on the left hand?
on his right hand that
His
he
right
picks
hand?
with. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's impressive.
Wow.
All right, last on the list, Christmas Child by Lunas McGlowan.
McGlowan, yeah.
McGlowan.
It's my grandfather. So, and he's a big jazz piano player. You would think, why Christmas Child? I don't actually like it and love it for the fact of it being a Christmas song. You would never know it's a Christmas song if you heard it because it's all instrumental. But it's the perfect chords and notes in a song to me, personally. Resonates with me big time. So
Coming from a DJ. So
Well,
we might need to listen to that.
I know. I'll be listening to it on my way home today.
I will have to get you a copy. It doesn't even exist anywhere to find. So,
Oh, yeah.
I can send it to you.
Yes, I would
Love
love
that.
to. I would love to listen. All right. So our very last question for you, then, Edward, is: what does this playlist say about Edward Shouse?
That music is a very special place in my heart and is a direct line to emotion in me. Music, it's all about that. It moves me in a different way than you would think. I don't know half the lyrics to any songs, to be honest with you. I played them so many times I don't know all the lyrics to them, but the rhythms, keys, and chords and songs, that's what I listen to. That's what I hear and feel in music, and so I'll always have that part of me. I always have. I don't want to go back to DJing, but I'll always have that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yep. Well, it's been a good one. We could talk all day long about psycho-cybernetics, right? I want to know more and more and more about what my brain can do for me. But we hope that you guys have enjoyed our interview co-hosted podcast. Thank you so much for being here, Edward.
Thank you for having me. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, guys, follow Easy Does It on Apple or Spotify so you'll never miss a new episode. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Peace, love, and Easy Does It.
Appreciate y'all.